All right, so we have Duke C versus Wake Forest A in Division 4. We have the first round underway. This is Alden. Alden is the fourth board of Wake Forest, playing against Kevin Ordet, the top board from Duke's C team. So we can see the difference in their ratings, about 400 rating points. The top board's pretty much always the favorite in the first round against the bottom board. Let's check in with some of the other players. Here we have Andrews. Andrew is Andy, the fourth board from Duke C against Nicholas Breskin. That is the top board from Wake Forest, their team captain, in fact. So yeah, Nicholas, he's rocking the 2293 rating. He's also got the sleeping flare. I feel you on that one, Nick. Yeah, Mets fan. So we have a trade on e5, and Black's trying to trade off this bishop. Black is up a pawn, so that's good for them. Trying to trade down material. And yeah, Andy is thinking a lot here. Yeah, the rating difference between these two players is closer to 600. So I think Wake Forest is going to be the favorite here against Duke C, but it should still be a close match. Resurrected said he's from Nicaragua. I was just asking him earlier because he said he wants to get a college from his university or his school. Bangladesh Chess Club rating. Thank you. Hello and welcome, and congratulations again for winning. You guys are back-to-back weekly arena winners. You're now 2-0. And if you get to 5 wins, you're guaranteed the $500, by the way. So it's the perfect start. You can't ask for more. So appreciate the raid. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, good luck to you guys again next week. We might have some more teams joining in, try to contest you guys, hopefully. But I think a lot of teams were out this week. This is a nice shot here. I'm not sure. Like, this queen seems to be a little overloaded right now. If you take like this, we take like this, hitting that, and that opens this up as well. So that's really scary, actually. Yeah, there's also like bishop takes here. So takes here, pawn takes, right? And this is dangerous. If you take this, you lose that. And if you take that, you lose that. So I don't know what Mets fan is doing here. What's the plan? I don't see it. E takes f6. And now the queen should go to c7 to defend the bishop. And look at this beautiful pawn here. That's looking mighty fine. So yeah, black's now threatening to just ruin the white pawn structure, but I think we could take this, or we can like get in here somehow. But at the end of the day, after it's all said and done, white and black have even material. Duke C is the favorite, says Pika Naruto. I didn't look at the rating differences. I just looked at the top and bottom boards of both teams. I haven't looked at boards 2 and 3. These are very important. So Jostem is at 2260. That's pretty high for the board 2. I'm pretty sure that's higher than Kevin Ordet, who's only at 1910. Let's look at the board 3. Yeah, board 3, Joe Bryant at 1798. Yeah, I think I'm not sure. I would disagree with Pika Naruto on the whole who's the favorite, who's not the favorite. Um, I don't know though. Maybe Duke knows something that I don't. But this Wake Forest A team they're looking pretty strong. Um, their weakest player here is at 1537. Let's see the Duke players 1888 from Car. That's their board 2. This is their board 3 is 1900. So yeah, they're pretty like even. Would you please show the Mark Kolodenko game, please? Yeah, we were just there. You want to see them versus Jostem. So how are they doing? Looks like they're down a pawn, but they have the bishop pair. The king steps up, not castling. The queens have been traded off. This knight is a really nice piece, boxing in this pawn. And this rook kind of just defending a2. So yeah, black right now is doing pretty well. Obviously, up a pawn is good. This knight blockade is pretty good. But white does have the bishop pair, which can always be tricky. And here we can see the bishop wants to just remove that knight on c4. But I think black can just play b5. b5 and get the other knight in. And yeah, this is gonna be a problem with no b pawn to kick out the knight. So we could take and put a pawn on the c4 square. If we don't take right now, black can replenish the piece with another knight. So these knights have multiple lives if you let them both get in. So I actually don't know. I think taking is bad. I think not taking is bad. I think either way, this is a great position for black. It's not like completely winning by any means right now, but it is tough for white to even defend, actually. And the time pressure also is mounting. So white's trying to play in the center, trying to undermine the defense of the knight. Black should probably just double up. And now rook a2 is a threat. How do you defend this? You can't go here. You'd have to go rook a1, which is somewhat passive, but at the same time, what else is the rook doing? Might as well defend the pawn. Only 30 seconds for Mark. They do find rook a1 though, so holding on ever so slightly. And now the bishop can come back and try to dislodge this. So that's something. That's something useful. Black might also just be threatening knight a4, attacking this pawn for the second time. So bring the bishop back first. Maybe even bring the second bishop back, just to underdevelop all of our pieces. Okay, so king move. It's also not the most clear to see how black makes progress, but I think that they're definitely the favorite in this position. Okay, very low on time for Mark. So what happened here? Actually, I'm curious. Pawn push, trade, rook here and here. Defending this, it's attacked 3 times and it's defended 3 times. So that is interesting. And white might push and try to get this bishop check in or something. I'm not sure. Jostem now under a minute on the clock. This is Josiah. So now taking on e5. Yeah, white's trying to fight back. They're making progress. They're making some space for themselves. So yeah, pushing a4. Pushing a5, kicking the knight out. Knight goes back. Now taking the knight on c4. Bishop develops. This pawn's now weak, so that could be an attempt to get it back. Here, we could try to hold on but there is en passant. So, okay, pushing the rook. But now king d3, actually. King d3 and rook c2 is very interesting. We cannot take the pawn. So this allows rook check. And now there goes this pawn, so that's not great. King defends, but now the pawn pushes. Bishop back. There's rook here, but now just bring the king up. Exactly. Go after this pawn. Yeah, I think black is kind of throwing this. They play knight c5. If king here... Oh, if king here, there's check. And this also blocks the king out. Oh my god, only 4 seconds. Oh, trading here, and now knight here. Oh, that's gonna... Oh, that wins the house! Knight c1. Oh, this knight c5 move was OP. That was way too strong. That knight took everything. Wow, what a strong piece. Yeah, knight b3, you couldn't stop. That was crazy. Knight c5, huge counterplay. I thought for sure that pawn would go down. Mets fan won their game. The last 2 games are huge time scrambles. So that is a point. That's the top 2 boards from Wake Forest getting their points. Now we have the top 2 boards from Duke. Can they answer back? White won a queen, but they had mate in 1, I'm pretty sure. But doesn't matter. Joe Bryant gets a win on this one. So that's 3 points for Wake Forest. And let's check in with this game here. We have 2 rooks versus rook and bishop. It's a bishop and 2 pawns for a rook. So it's even material. So this should be a draw, which would actually be a huge result for Wake Forest. Because this is their 4th board against Duke's top board. So this is actually looking like a rough match for Duke C, if I'm being honest. Here, just trying to trade off rooks. But yeah, really impossible to try to make progress for either side. Honestly, this bishop is covering all these checks. Now cutting off the rook. Black could make progress here, I think. If anyone would choose a side, yeah, I would push this pawn. That's what I would do. Very low time for everyone. Bishop fork. Missed that one in the time pressure. And now black is up a bishop and 2 pawns. A bishop and 2 pawns. Yeah, this is dangerous. I think that black should have gone this way with the bishop and keep the rook here. But it doesn't matter. They're just winning. Yeah, this is a desperation. Desperation move. Bishop here, king here, yeah. Just push the pawn. You can block this. So yeah, Kevin or Det getting that nice fork with the bishop, getting the only point for Duke. So the top board lives. That was really close though by Alden. All right, so that is round 1 in the books. Round 2 about to begin. We'll see if Duke can try to get any points back from that first round. 3-1 is not terrible. It's not great. It's just, you know, it's a one game difference, really. So just waiting on the players to start round 2. And here we go, Mets fan versus Mark. So we will stick with this one. Top board from Wake Forest and Mark Kolodenko, board 3 from Duke. Definitely one of the fan favorites here in the chat. We have one person asking to see Mark's game, and that's all it takes. We just need one person request, and there you have it. We're watching this player's game for the rest of the round. Okay, so we have the English opening with c4 and Mark taking up the light squares with the pawns. with b5, d5, e6. Here we have a very interesting a3. Not sure what this is doing. Just taking away the b4 square. So yeah, white's continuing with putting pawns on dark squares. And now black has already castled. White has done the same. Both sides have fully developed their king side. Now they got to develop some of these queen side pieces. Black brings the queen out to b6. White develops their last minor piece to f4. And yeah, we got to get these pieces out too. With all these pawns on light squares, it's hard to imagine where the bishop wants to go. Mark's games are the most interesting when he has less than 20 seconds. All right. We'll come back then in 5 minutes and see. No, we'll stick to it. We'll see the thought process as Mark moves throughout this game, starting with the full amount of time and ending with little to no time. So yeah, Mark, he's already thinking a little bit here. His opponent, the top board from Wake Forest, has not really spent much time at all yet in this opening. They started with the white pieces, so they probably know the English pretty well. They've only spent 5 seconds in the first 11 moves. Mark, on the other hand, is now at 3.5 minutes. What is the thought process here? I see the rook has gone to c1. Now the rook and the bishop for white can converge on c7 after white's knight on c3 moves. Black, meanwhile, just needs to continue their development, and they do so by bringing the knight here. White landing on e5. Doesn't want to see black play e5. This also opens up the bishop. If this pawn moves, this rook could be hanging. So yeah, this is offering a trade. Nothing crazy. We don't have to react to this. Our knight on d7 is sufficiently defended. Now the knight could land on c6 if this knight moves. In c6, the knight attacks the bishop, which is pretty strong. We have rook here. The first thing that comes to mind is this pawn is kind of weak now, but no real way for white to take advantage of that for the time being. But yeah, I do like, yeah, knight here is very interesting because, again, this knight can move. That's going to be discovery on the queen. And so probably you want to either take this or you want to, I don't know. This also is really deadly, right? Knight takes. I mean, maybe what you do is you take the knight, you accept the sacrifice. Knight takes here. I'm assuming that's the follow-up. You take the rook. White takes back, however, and then you take the second knight. You get 2 knights plus a rook for the queen and a pawn. Very interesting imbalance. I obviously like the queen because, I don't know, it's a queen. But 2 minor pieces and a rook, that's a lot. That's more than enough material to sacrifice the queen. I think that might be the best option. That, or you just play down a c-pawn, right? You have to weigh your options. So yeah, knight c6, strong move from Mets fan. Does Mark go for the queen sacrifice? Notice the time difference as well. Nick has about 3 minutes up on Mark. That is that's a recipe for success when you are complicating the position and your opponent does not have time and you have time. So Mark decides not to give up the queen. Says, all right, you got me. Knight c6. We just simply trade. Actually, there was no pawn here. White did not take a pawn. So the material is balanced, right? That's something to keep in mind. Is that you can just simply trade and defend that way. And it doesn't really change much. Right? So the material has been restored. I mean, it was always balanced. And White's just trying to continue with the development. But yeah, that was interesting. Knight c6, black declined. Didn't want to deal with it. Just simply trading for that dark square bishop. And now we have black getting their light square bishop developed towards the center on the long diagonal. That helps defend the rook on a8, which, by the way, should probably go to the c file. And same with black's other rook on e7. Should probably get that one involved somehow. So white, I can tell, can play e5. That is a legal move in the position. They instead decide to take on d5. They want to open up their bishop. Perhaps both their bishops. So Mark should take back. I think Mark should take with something here. Probably the pawn, if I'm being honest. We open up our rook. Takes with knight instead. This is interesting. Knight takes, bishop takes, pawn takes. So actually, I like this trade for black because now we've gotten rid of that fianchettoed bishop. We've also opened up our rook on the e-file. So those are two positives there for Mark. And Mark has picked up the pace a little bit. Nick is starting to think. Nick develops the queen, the last piece, attacking d5. So how to defend d5? Do we play knight to f6 and allow for bishop to g5? I'm not so sure. Trying to pin the knight or take the knight, remove the defender of d5. If we do see that line, knight f6, bishop g5. So, yeah. You have to ask yourself, how do I defend d5, right? Does the queen move backwards or does the knight move forwards? Now, I'm expecting one of these two bishop moves, just trying to attack the knight. And now, how do we remedy this whole situation, right? Because they're threatening to ruin our pawn structure. If we take with the queen, we lose either of these pawns. That's not good. If we move the knight, we lose our rook. And look at the time pressure. Here now we have Mark in the infamous less than 20 seconds mark. He's played the rook to d8, and now we have the capture on f6, taking with the pawn, trying to leave the queen defending, but now rook to c5. White's going to bust this open and win all the pawns. Mark my words. Trying to hold on for dear life, but there goes the d-pawn. Takes, king steps up, rook over, supporting that d-pawn. Yeah, less than 10 seconds. You think bishop e5 was better? At the end of the day, they took on f6, so I'm not sure how much of a difference it makes. But yeah, Mets fan, all this fighting and only up a pawn to show for it. However, look at the time still. Mark has to live the rest of this chess game with less than 10 seconds. It's very rough. Very rough to do. So this actually gives up the d-pawn. Black doesn't want it. Probably because rook takes. Taking here. That's a check, but the king comes up. That's a check, but the king comes up. That's a check, but the king goes up. Hold up. Check here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is so dangerous. Oh my god, there's queen takes and skewer. Oh, that would have been so sick. That would have been nasty. 2 seconds for Mark. He lived. He lived. There's queen check here. Queen here. Rook check. Queen here. Oh, queen there's mate. Yeah. Mets fan missed the skewer tactic, but they found the mate. So Mark goes down to the top board, Nick, who is 2 for 2 now, building on Wake Forest's lead. Here we have the board 2, Josiah against, is this Andy? Yes. Andy down to the last 20 seconds. What is going on with this position? Black has the bishop pair. Material is even. White has their king on d2. So I think black is better here, which is impressive considering that Andy is 600 rating points below his opponent. But the time difference can play a very key factor. Here we have g5 from white, and black decides to decline and pushes h5. The bishop tucks back to defend. Knight's coming around to f4. I love this. Ignoring the threat, saying, what threat? Look at my threat. Pawn takes with check. Open up the rook discovery on the queen. Now Josiah's in time pressure. Kevin and Joe Bryant, they drew their games. So Joe Bryant taking some points off the top board from Duke. But look at this game. This could be the fourth board from Duke C, taking it to Josiah. And so the queen has to react first. Wait, did white really take that? And black didn't take on c3 check? Oh my gosh. Both players blundered that? That is wild. Okay. Here. Yeah, rook takes, I was going to say. That was missed, maybe. The last move. But trading was fine, too. But yeah, up a bishop. Up a bishop is Andy. And so that's looking pretty good. Rook's coming in. That's a check. You can win this pawn. Not going for it. I would push this. Or that. But still, I want to save my pawn. Okay, we take and defend. But now our rook's short on squares. At least we have b5. Here, going after this. Or you can go here after that. I don't understand this. Take that. Why not? Take this next. You know, you have this. Yeah, this is completely crushing for Josiah. Huge upset win for their for Duke's fourth board. Huge win. Assuming it all goes well. Car with a point. So Duke is answering back in this next round. Car taking down the fourth board from Wake Forest. Wake Forest's fourth board losing to both the top two players from Duke. That's pretty typical. Black trying to trade off this last piece. White declining, of course. White fighting for stalemate. Rook here. Moves the king down. King over. There's check. Do we care? I don't think so. Just push the pawns. That's a discovery. So the king steps back. Rook here, rook check, rook block. Just push. Push him, baby. Block like this. Pushing the pawns. Pushing the pawns. Rook here is very interesting. Maybe bring the king in. Block with rook. No. That's mate. That's mate in one. Is that not mate in one? Oh, not anymore. Not now that the king is blocking the rook. But yeah, rook here has to be played. Yeah, and now check. Or this. Check. Okay. Here. So if the king... No, the king can't actually move anywhere. So the rook has to slide over. And now king here and pawn pushes mate. But okay. This forces the rooks off. Still have to watch out for stalemate. But that is not stalemate. Okay, so yeah. Huge result. So Duke getting some points back. They did have that draw against their top board. So that was a bit unfortunate for them. And they did lose their third board mark. But yeah, let's see. How quickly can we checkmate? That is what the people want to know. Just always check and don't stalemate. That is very important to do that. That's the ladder mate. Nice and easy. All right, so Andy with the big win as a fourth board. And so now Duke is only down by 1 after that first round being down by 2. So we have 3.5 to 4.5 at the halfway point. We have 2 rounds left. This is round 3. The top board Mets fan, who's 2 for 2, is now playing Car. This is Jack. Mets fan, the only player in these teams that hasn't lost yet or hasn't drawn, that are 2 for 2, flawless so far. And yeah, we'll see if they can continue. We also have Andy now playing Joe Bryant. Joe Bryant is 1.5 out of 2. Andy losing to the top board, but beating the second board. Mark hasn't started his game yet, so we will wait for that game to start. But yeah, I see Kevin is playing Josiah. Top board versus board 2 from Wake Forest. Looks like White could castle long if they want. Black could maybe give up the bishop for the knight. Trying to double some pawns. At least I don't think Mark is playing right now. I can double check. No, I don't see it. So yeah, just waiting on that third board to start. But in the meantime, we'll keep an eye on. Here it is. Mark is now playing the fourth board. So Mark and Alden, both of these players are 0 for 2. So someone here is guaranteed some amount of points. Someone's going to get some points. It could be both of them. Who's it going to be? Mark is the favorite in this matchup. I think this is the first time Mark has a rating advantage against one of Wake Forest players. This is Wake Forest bottom board with the white pieces. And we have Scandinavian from Mark. With knight c3 and queen to d6. So I think queen d6 is like not the most common response to the Scandi. I think a lot of players will go queen a5. Queen d6 here, we're kind of blocking in the dark square bishop a little bit. But the bishop seems like it just wants to go to e7. Here we have b5, and this opens up the light square bishop to go to the long diagonal on b7. Black also is just taking space on the queen side and is able to kick out the knights whenever they wish. White just continuing with development. Black bring the bishop out. Sort of like a fianchetto, but with these pawns a little more extended. But still very open, very good piece is this bishop on this diagonal. White continuing their development. Black getting ready to castle. So we're still just in the opening stages of this game. Nothing crazy. A3 for white, kind of like an insurance to make sure that this knight's not kicked by the b pawn. Rook to e1 for white. Black brings out their last piece, connecting the rooks. This pawn in the center, taking away these squares from the knight. The queen steps aside, doesn't want to have to deal with this. And now the rook comes to the c file opposite the queen. There's still some stuff in the way here, but black, I would not be surprised if they go for c5. c5 seems very thematic for black's last move here. And actually, wait, okay, the queen lines up with the bishop to attack the queen here. So the queen goes here. And again, I think c5 is coming. I think pretty much whatever white does, c5 is going to hit. So I'm cheering for c5 to be played. Why? Because it takes space. It opens up the rook, opens up the black pieces, opens up the center of the board. You want to open things up. You want to start trading. And yeah, this light square bishop is just a really nice piece for black on that long diagonal, staring right at g2. So we take here. White has to take back with either the knight or the bishop or the pawn. They take with the bishop. If they take it with the pawn, they attack the knight, and the knight, I don't know where the knight goes, but black putting another rook on the d file. So black is a little bit better here. They're just generally more active with the pieces. We still haven't seen c5 yet. Yeah, these pieces back here not doing much for white. So c5 can be played now. Should it be played now? I feel like it could be. That seems like a good move to me. And there it is. So now if white takes, black takes with the bishop. And that's going to hurt, actually. The queen would have to go to one of these squares. Actually, you can't go here. You'd have to go to one of these two. And it seems that knight here attacks both of those squares. It's kind of hard to defend f2. So all of that to say that white should not take on c5, in my opinion. But yeah, with these last few moves, white has been able to get the rook into the game, which is very important. That was kind of their last piece that hadn't been moved. That's going to help them out with their development. So yeah, the question now is, does black take on d4? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. Black could also prepare, perhaps, for something. Or you could try to threaten checkmate on c6 by going to g2. But I think white has a very clear response to this by bringing the bishop out. Maybe that's when you take here. I doubt it. Yeah, this is round 3. Duke down a point. Bringing the knight back, attacking that bishop. So probably white wants to save the bishop. Mark also has a little bit of a time edge. Again, neither of these players have won a point yet in this match. So this is Mark's time to shine. This is the board 4 from Wake Forest. So we have pawn takes. I would take with the bishop. And now, what does this queen do exactly? Bishop d4. So the difference here is before the queen had to move, but now the knight on d7 is blocking the rook support of d4. So white very timely is able to block the diagonal's attack. So that's nice. Now, does black take, or does black allow white to take? I'm not sure. Maybe you could play like e5. It's just an idea. But no, they trade. And now queen takes, offering a queen trade. We do see that. Probably you want to go back to like knight f6 or something. Open up the rooks. Yeah. And yeah, I think white should double the rooks perhaps. Or trade. Didn't e5 win a piece? At what point? Right here? e5? They just take here. I'm pretty sure. And if e5 right now, I think you were talking about earlier. They could take on c5. So it was not winning a piece. Yes. All right, so they trade rooks. Now the king is trying to enter. The knight on f6 guards against rook d7, which is nice. But yeah, this rook right now is better than this rook. So this is pretty even. It's a 3-on-2 for white on the queen side. We have a result. Car with a draw against the top board. So Nick getting their first non-win. So now the score is 4 and 5. Still tied. Or not tied, but still up a point for Wake Forest. Yeah, Rook steps back. I would consider knight e4. Knight e4, if knight takes, there's bishop takes, and I'm pretty sure we win the c2 pawn. So probably you won't take on e4, but if you don't take on e4, we're threatening to take on c3, and that would ruin the pawn structure. So that's something to play for. Yeah, so instead bring the king up, centralizing the king. And maybe white just plays like bishop to f3. Or maybe they push the pawn to f3. I'm not sure. Yeah, white's got to figure out some sort of plan. Black is just slowly improving their pieces, right? Okay, so we have the bishop trade now. Rook takes. And now, would you push a5 to push b4? You give up the b pawn, but you win the c pawn. The active rook. No, black says, I'm just going to go to d2. Like, if I want to attack c2 and your knight's blocking it, just let me get here. Why not? So now, white says, no thanks. I'll block, but we'll get the rooks off. And black says, that's fine. I'm going to isolate your d-pawn. And now I'm going to bring up my king. Pushing here instead. Stopping the pawn. King over. The king should join in. Andy with the win against Joe Bryant. So Andy, the fourth board from Duke, putting the team on his back, tying things up at 5 points apiece. This game's also almost very done. Both players with about 10 seconds. Kevin Ordette, top board from Duke against Josiah, second board from Wake Forest. This knight is so pesky here. Rook here threatens check and mate. Rook d1 looking awfully juicy. So what do? Do we push our c-pawn? 5 seconds to figure this out. Rook guarding against the knight check. Knight attacking the rook. 4 seconds. Rook offering the trade. This is hanging. Bishop comes back to defend. If you go here, there's takes and this pawn runs. So now the king's going to gobble up this pawn. King attacks the knight. We still can't save the pawn though. Yeah, 3 pawns versus 3 pawns, that's even. 3 pawns versus 1 pawn. Josiah should win this one. Yeah, I don't know. Unless there's some sort of wild trick where this king gets trapped. There goes this pawn though. So now it's a 3-on-2. The bishop's in time to defend this. The knight's coming over this way. I don't know what's happening anymore. Pawn push. Knight here, running this guy, attacking this. That's a check. No, attacking this now. Push again. So these pawns are trying to make a 3 versus 2 work to make a pass pawn. This knight's being very tricky, but now this base point is 2 diagonal squares away from the knight, so that's very hard for the knight to get to. And now, like, yeah, if you push this pawn, there's knight check. So the knight check comes a little early. Now the knight's hit. Knight goes here. King attacks the knight again. Steps up this way. Going after this, but the bishop's there. The bishop's dominating. White's going to win this. Kevin should win this game. Here, takes. This king needs to get in. Bring the king in. And the king is running. The king is going over. I'm surprised that... Okay, black is running, actually. Black might get there in time. Here, there's check. But then we take this. Pawn push. I would take. Open up the bishop. And now pawn push. Oh, that blunders the bishop. That blunders the bishop. Oh, no. And time pressure. Run this pawn. But black can make a queen too. 4 seconds, though. They decide to go with this queen. There's check. There's check here. Oh, the queen's getting to c7. Oh, but the queen defends this. The queen's also attacking the knight. There's knight check, queen check, I agree with. That strong knight here. Queen check. Queen check. Here, queen check. King's going after this. Oh my goodness. I don't know what's happening. We take this, but oh, queen takes this, mate next, no matter where you go. You had to keep checking. Oh, that was such a crazy game. You just blundered the bishop. That was crazy. Also, I apologize for leaving Mark's game, but I had to tune into that as it was winding down. So Josiah gets a second point, and Mark won his first game. So all things are even, 6-6, going into the fourth and final round. Just really quickly to show you how this game unfolded. We took on d3. We bring the king up. Every pawn up, 4 in a row. Check, check, and oh, is that checkmate with the knight? That is gnarly. King stepped up a little too close to the sun and got burned by the knight. Knight mate in the middle of the board here. Very nice from Mark. Nice find. All right, moving on to the fourth and final round. Here we have the board twos. Carr versus Josiah. Josiah getting a little lucky on that one. That's a very close game and a very close match, actually. All comes down to this fourth and final round. Duke's captain at the beginning said they're the favorite. I said Wake Forest was the favorite, and so far they're dead even. Wake Forest had a strong start, 3-1, and then Duke in the next 2 rounds chipped away 1 point at a time to even things up. And now we're down to the heads-up match between the boards. So I think Wake Forest is going to win this one. I think they're the favorite for the most part, but Andy's been really strong for Duke's C team. And Wake Forest fourth board hasn't been doing too hot. They're still looking for their first point. In fact, we have that matchup right here, the fourth boards. This, according to the previous round so far, should be a Duke C point. Andy, although the fourth board, has the most points out of any of the Duke players, and Alden from Wake Forest has the least points of any of the players. But Alden might have been inspired to fight back. And even if Andy wins this game, there's still 3 other boards. Here we have the top 2 boards, Kevin versus Nick. Kevin's at 1.5 out of 3. Nick is at 2.5 out of 3, only getting 1 draw, I believe, against Jack. And Jack is playing against Josiah. And yeah, just waiting on the fourth game for Mark to play. They've been starting a little late on the rounds, but that's okay. Let's see. So Andy's got the white pieces. This is pretty standard stuff so far. D takes c4, makes the bishop move twice. The knight comes here, trying to force something to happen here, right? Maybe we see b3. Maybe we see captures or push. Here with Mets fan. What is going on here? Okay, I thought this was the other colored queen. Queen comes here, bishop comes out. I see Mark has started his game, so we can watch this versus Joe. Joe Bryant at 1.5, Mark at 1. These are the board 3s. Joe is adding a lot of time to the clock. Oh my goodness, speedy Joe. That looks like a juicy fork, so you want to watch out for that. That's going to be a problem. Probably you just defend this somehow. Lots of pawns on light squares. Maybe bishop g2 is not great. Knight backwards to the home square. Also probably not great. I guess white probably wants to castle. queen side. It's a lot of pawns though, and we're missing the c pawn, which might influence white's decision. Both of these players are at 99 in their rating. We have 1899 versus 1799. It's the discount numbers. Yeah, black's just attacking, taking the space on the queen side. This king doesn't know where to go. I think white should definitely try something over here. Try to stir something up. Now, this pawn is weak. This pawn is weak. If the knight kicks out after this last move, this knight is the only defender of the pawn. Knight takes could be a thing, and we see exactly just that. Black says, you've weakened this square. I see you're attacking me, but I'm going to attack you. How do you like that? So probably we take, they take. And then if we take, this knight moves. That opens up the bishop. That's kind of deadly. Also, if we take this, we lose that. So Mark's not looking too hot here, if I'm being honest with you all. Joe is looking good. Is the next season in fall, Braining? I would say yes, it is. So the queen has to move, and then also now e5 is going to hang by the bishop or the pawn, probably the bishop. But yeah, this is not looking great. And also the bishop will attack this as well. Queen here attacks this though. So the knight's going to have to move. The knight can go to g3, attacking the bishop and the rook. Not so sure. But queen check. Queen check is probably way stronger than what I was thinking. So now you got to move the king. Yeah, Mark's kind of getting wrecked over here. Bishop takes, strong move. Defending the knight. If we take the bishop, we lose our queen to the knight fork. Gnarly. No, black is just shredding. Black is opening everything up. Bishop pairs, open board. Rooks are going to join soon. White should have castled sooner. Yeah, I think the F pawn push was ill-timed, poorly timed, and black has taken full advantage, starting with that beautiful b4 move, realizing the weakness on e4 and pouncing. So this game should be wrapped up soon, honestly. Also, Joe's up a lot of time. So yeah, not looking too hot for Mark. So let's look at some of the other boards really quickly just to tune in. Here we have a good position for white. This is forcing the rook off and also just attacking this. Let's see, is there time? I mean, the knight defends this pawn, and this knight's going to be hard to kick, right? All these pawns are covered by the white pawns. So I think Mets fan should win this. Joe should win this, barring a tragedy. King c2, I think, should be played. There's no knight checks there. Although if the knight moves backwards, you have to watch out for the pin. So that is one thing. We could see knight back to d2 to guard that. So it's not completely lost for Mark. It's just really tough. It's really tough. That you should take. Or you can take the bishop now. Actually, that was the threat of moving the king. Queen takes d5 is strong. Taking here isn't great because queen takes, I don't know. Yeah, you should take on d5. Take, if they take your rook, you take back. So that's two pieces for the rook, right? At least I think so. Yeah, so Mark's swinging things around here. Let's see, what should they have done here? Apparently knight takes c3 is a really strong move, which makes sense. It's really tough, though, to play for black. The second best move is d takes e5. Very interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that. So rook takes. I'm expecting rook takes. There's this gnarly rook g1 move, which is just gross. I don't see the point after queen takes h3. Maybe there's like bishop back and the queen's trapped. Oh my god. That would be disgusting, but it didn't happen. Wait, rook g1 now again? It's so counterintuitive. You have to give up the h-pawn. Rook g1, and you basically have to take the rook. If you take here, there's bishop to f1. The queen defends this, the rook defends that. Yeah, I mean, the knight defends these, pawn defends that, and bishop defends that. It's gross. White finds rook g1. Now, do they find the follow-up? Bishop f1. Black should have taken the rook, but it's hard to see this. That is just wild. So yeah, Mark was getting torn to pieces, right? Bishop d5, super strong, and then king to c2, getting rid of the fork tactics. And yeah, Mark finds it. He finds bishop f1 and say goodbye to the queen. You got to take the bishop. Oh man, what a swing. Mets fan beat Kevin, so that puts him at 3.5. Not losing a single game, only getting one draw. That's going to put Wake Forest 1 point away from 8, which is what you need for a tie. You need 1.5 for a win. But it looks like Mark should win this one up a queen. Let's look at another game here. I see Josiah is down to the last 12 seconds. What's going on in this game? So it's even material. Black has a lot of space in the center. But yeah, the time is huge. So this is a threat. The knight moves, attacking the queen. Is queen d3 a move? It looks like it is, but it's not. Isn't played. Queen retreats. Pawn push. I would take. I feel. I don't know. That seems strong. You can't take back with the queen. You have to take. You have to trade. Oh, take with the pawn. That's kind of weird. I mean, you had to take with the pawn eventually. So yeah, I didn't like f3, but again, Josiah, big time pressure. Mark ended up winning their game. So that ties it up. Mark starting slow, 0 for 2, but winning big, 2 for 2 in the final 2 rounds. This pawn's hit. That's a thing. That pawn is hit. That's a check. Karkar has a time advantage and the space advantage, the positional advantage. Bishop here is kind of passive, if I'm being honest. Let's check in this one. Andy, 20 seconds to Alden at 6 seconds. I was calling this one a favorite for Andy, and it looks like it's true. They're up this really strong C pawn. Andy gets a win. Alden goes down. It all comes down to this last game. Andy went 3 out of 4, only losing to Nick. Alden gets swept. So now Duke has the lead, 8-7. Any points from Duke wins this. But White has this passed pawn now. The a5 pawn can be very valuable. Rook here. So even material, but a strong a pawn. This promotes on a light color square, so this bishop's not going to be the best defender. Now the bishop gets involved. Knight gets involved. Bishop here. Queen here. We're threatening knight check. And that opens up the rook to attack the bishop. I think white's going to win this. Both sides very low on time. Knight d7 hitting the queen. Opening up. There goes the bishop. Yeah, time pressure. The knight takes away all these squares. So the king's forced this way. Trying to get some checks in. Taking here. Knight here threatening this. How do you defend it? You don't. You don't. Oh, man. You had to push the pawn, but you're going to lose the rook. It didn't matter. Not even taking this. It's not stalemate, by the way. You guys, you could take that. Now push g5. What are you doing? It's not stalemate. There's a pawn push. There's a pawn push, you guys. That was a free knight. That was a free knight. What? Take the knight. Take the knight. Take the knight. Take the knight. What are you doing? It's not stalemate. What are you doing? It's not stalemate. You have g5. Oh my goodness. What did I just witness? These players are seeing things, I swear. That was just wild. Oh my goodness. And just like that, Josiah's gonna tie the match for Wake Forest. This is gonna be a tie, 8-8. Oh wow, that was wild. Okay. Why didn't he take? He thought it was stalemate, but it wasn't. He could have. And yeah, the knight was hanging because the player was not taking the rook. So that was funny. But yeah, that's as close as the match is gonna get. So yeah, 8-8, crazy match.